Welcome to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Thanks, everyone, for joining us again. Scheduling change on tonight's show. We were scheduled to have Charles Barkley on tonight, believe it or not, but due to some conflicts on his side, he was not able to make tonight's show. We are in touch with Charles, and we hope to have something in February. But we've got a pinch hitter, and we had a great show last week with former WBZ Channel 4 sportscaster Bob Lobel. We were going to do a part two. I thought, let's bring Bob right back on Wednesday for part two, unfinished business. A lot going on in the world of sports, especially in New England, concerning the New England Patriots and the recent parting of ways with Bill Belichick. So, Bob is the co-host of Unanchored Boston Sports with Mike Lynch. Can be heard weekly. I checked out his podcast yesterday with Mike Reese. Excellent show. A lot of information. So with that, let's bring on Bob Lobel for part two, Unfinished Business. Hey, Bob.
Les, thanks for having me back. Charles Barkley. Wow, this is heavy stuff, man.
You're pinch hitting, man. You've got some large shoes to fill here.
No kidding. Well, he's on CNN tonight. That's why, if you want to know where he's at, I know he's doing a CNN show tonight. So
yeah, evidently he wants to hang out with Gayle King more than me, but that's okay.
Well, that's hard to
That's all right. I'm okay.
Believe it. But the reality was filling in for him is. I'm flattered. I guess just happy to be here. Happy to be asked.
Well, so much has gone on, Bob, since last Wednesday's show. I think Robert Kraft might have been listening, as you basically said, you know what, or get off the pot and make a move. And they did. The very next day, they parted ways with Coach Bill Belichick after, 24 years with the New England Patriots?
Yeah, 23, 24, who's counting, but it's just, right. After Kraft's biggest, he said, I've only had 3 coaches in my career, Parcells. Of course, he didn't hire Parcells.
Right.
Orthwine hired Parcells. And he hired Pete Carroll and Belichick, and now Gerard Mayo. It all kind of dropped, right? The next day, it all kind of hit the fan, and it's pretty unbelievable, to tell you the truth, because not only leads me to believe, and I know the whole Mayo thing, as has been reported, has been set up for a couple of years now, apparently, in the chain of succession. But the fact that one guy is out and the next guy is in the next day leads me to believe, as we talked, I think, on the show about crisis management, but there's somebody behind the scenes says, you got to get rid of the old story. You got to bring in the new story. And the new story is Mayo. The old story is Belichick. So to get people to stop talking about Belichick, they got to bring in somebody new. And that was Mayo. And that's exactly what happened. Belichick, sure, he's a factor of interest right now, but he's not the story. It's Gerard Mayo who stepped to the podium today.
Now, it looked like an amicable split based on the press conference they had last week, but you and I both know that's probably not the case. I think
probably not the case.
I agree with you, and we talked earlier in our production meeting that I think it was really Bob Kraft that forced Bill Belichick's hand and got him out of New England.
No question about it. I think this is a decision. Not only Bob Kraft, but Jonathan, who, by the way, was not there today. This is another thing. He wasn't there last week when they cut ties with Belichick. Jonathan is the oldest son, heir apparent. He's about to become the new owner of the Patriots. I don't know if Robert's going to wait till he passes on or if he's going to, do it sooner or later, but he's going to protect him in a way that, Jonathan didn't have to deal with Belichick. But he was absent, conspicuously absent last week. Today, he was more conspicuously absent.
Yeah, that surprises me.
He was asked about it in the press conference. Robert Kraft was asked about it, and he said, incredibly, actually, he said that, we have a number of businesses in our operation, in our family operation, and we had a situation in one of those businesses that Jonathan had to deal with, and therefore isn't here today because we had something. He intimated there was something serious going on in one of the other businesses, whether it was Kraft mayo or Kraft horseradish or Kraft horse shit, whatever. I'm not sure.
Or the paper company.
Or the paper company. I'm just saying, not there, conspicuously absent.
Yeah.
And who was not conspicuously absent was Mac Jones, the quarterback who, if you listen to everybody on the team is responsible for everything that's gone wrong in the world.
But can you put, and I understand that, and you look at his numbers, and he had a very good rookie year, led the team to the playoffs his rookie year, and then obviously a massive downslide from then. They brought Bill O'Brien back, and they said, he'd build him back up again. He'd be the quarterback he was his rookie year. That did not work. He was benched in favor of Bailey Zappi. I think he was the third string quarterback at one time. I mean, it did not work.
The last game of the season.
Last game of the season.
The Jets, he was the third string quarterback.
But now that Jerod Mayo was there, and obviously I think a lot has been made that Mayo's been there through the good times with the Patriots and the bad times. He's seen the best of Bill Belichick and maybe the worst of Bill Belichick. And it seems to me, based on his press conference today, that he's the anti-Bill Belichick when it comes to letting the media know what's going on, talking to his players. I just think it's going to be a breath of fresh air for the players, and maybe that gives Mac Jones a chance to maybe revitalize his career if it can possibly be in New England.
Possible. I think that's possible. I think Mac has a relationship with Jerod Mayo, who is, let's face it, the guy that Mayo is replacing, AKA BB, Bill Belichick. Was there anybody else in the National Football League or any other sports organization that handled press conferences in such a way that you almost had to watch? It was must-watch television to see what a jerk he was going to be. No question. There's a reason they had a fifth quarter, and that was to see how bad he was going to be. And now the fifth quarter has been greatly demoted because there's no Belichick on the fifth quarter. Who's going to watch Jerod Mayo give honest answers to questions? I mean, that's going to be a huge public relations difference. But I want to say one more thing, and then I'll shut up.
Yeah.
If Benny can jump in and anything, is there any franchise owner? Is there any franchise that is more owner-centric than the New England Patriots?
No.
Now, you can say, okay, Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe Jerry Jones.
Is there, but I'm talking about owner-centric as the Patriots. And I'm convinced of it of the last 2 weeks that talk about reclaiming his team. They even admitted they know they lost their team after the third Super Bowl. They lost their team to Belichick. Yeah. Belichick became everything.
Well, he's everything that encompasses the Patriots. I mean, in their Super Bowl run, it's all about Bill Belichick.
He bought, he got to pay the salaries, he picked the players, blah, blah, blah. The Crafts lost the team to Belichick. And they didn't have the wherewithal to fire him. How could you fire him in a run like they had?
Right.
Mm-hmm. They had to come upon disastrous times to even think about doing something like this.
Well, you have the pulse up there in New England, Bob, and you're doing the weekly podcast, Unanchored Boston Sports, which is a great podcast, by the way.
Well, you're kind.
A question is that what will the Belichick kids do? So you've got Steve Belichick, who, very close with Jerod Mayo. It's well documented. And you've got Brian, who is the safeties coach. An inside source, my inside source in New England, says that Steve Belichick will stay on because of that relationship and be the defensive coordinator of the Pats moving forward under Jerod Mayo. And Brian will go with wherever Bill ends up and eventually move his way up to a defensive coordinator position. I'm thinking it's the Atlanta Falcons. That's just, unless something opens up in Dallas or Philadelphia that we don't know about, I think it's definitely going to be Atlanta.
And I wonder about options. LA doesn't look like an option. Vrabel, I thought, would have been perfect for Dallas, but who knows? Maybe by this time tomorrow, the world will come to an end. Dallas will make a decision. The Philadelphia will make a decision, and it's hard to tell what's going to happen now. But considering everything that's available, getting back to the kids, you're right. I think you're right. I think Steve Belichick's going to stay, at least he's welcome to stay. That's been the message conveyed. Whether he decides to stay with Mayo, and they've had, according to all sources, a really good relationship, which is something you're happy to see. As far as the other kid goes, Brian, you're right. I think he maybe is a little more flexible and, family-wise, and probably sees the writing on the wall, whatever. So
now I'm going to throw a curveball at you here. And we didn't discuss this. I wanted to get your real take on this thing real time. So, we obviously thank Bill Belichick and the Boston fans do for a great run. I mean, it's arguably the greatest run in the history of the NFL for that long period of time. 6 Super Bowl championships, 9 Super Bowl appearances. I mean, it's unparalleled in modern day football since the free agency, era has come in. But the one game that I'm going to scrutinize, and I talk with my friends about it, I talk with other people about it, is Super Bowl 52 against Philadelphia. A game where the Patriots didn't even punt once. Brady had statistically his best Super Bowl ever. We threw over 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. Malcolm Butler, the mystery of Malcolm Butler. You being on the inside and on the know in Boston, we had some rumors back and forth. Why in the world would you suit up a player? He plays the opening kickoff, but does not get off the bench or the sideline when you're not stopping the other team at all. They made Nick Foles look like Johnny Unitas times 3 in that game. And his answer is, we put the best players out there that gave us the best chance of winning. Clearly, that's not true.
Clearly, that's not true.
What was your take on that, Bob? I mean, was it a personal thing?
I asked that question many times. And recently, actually, a couple of weeks ago, I had Ron Borges, who is a great football writer on, and these guys are really plugged in, and he has been in for a long time. And the answer that I've heard over and over again is that the reason that he didn't play was that he got into a fight with Steve Belichick, or I presume it was Steve, and the coach benched him. He got into a fight with a coach, and he defied authority, and that, Malcolm Butler was out. Now, I've also heard other stories that completely, I preface this by saying, this could be totally unreliable. The first one I think is much more plausible. Mm-hmm. I've heard that over and over and over again.
A disciplinary decision.
Mm-hmm. It had to do with an altercation with one of the coaches, presumably one of the Belichicks. Okay? Not the head coach, but one of the sons. That was a disciplinary situation. But I'd also heard there was a much deeper one about other relationships, but that would be irresponsible for me to really go down that road. This seems to be the most plausible.
Well, I was going to say is, Belichick's ego that big that he would actually affect the outcome of a Super Bowl game. I mean, there's no way that you don't put that guy in. He's definitely your best option as a cornerback. I know he didn't grade out well that year as far as, with the season end grading out process as a corner.
Yeah, but the year before he made the interception at the goal line.
I was going to say a couple years. I think it was the 2014 Super Bowl. Right. Yeah, he's a folk hero for picking off, Russell Wilson at the goal line, and he's celebrated all over New England.
The question is not, believe me, I'm telling you, I've asked that question 100 times because it's been asked me 100 times. And that's the answer. That is he that much of a disciplinarian, or is he that much focused on? Yeah, I guess as a coach, he's focused on what coaches are focused on, and that in his world and his thinking, growing up with his father in Annapolis and Andover prep school, and it was all about
Wesleyan as a center.
Wesleyan is right, and as a lacrosse player, it's all about answering to authority. I'm the boss, and these are the rules. And if you don't follow the rules, you're going to be disciplined, no matter what the situation. And it can be looked at as a teaching moment for the other players. Mm-hmm. They're saying, God, if he could bench him, what could they do to me? if I stepped out of line. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's coach speak.
It is, and it obviously lays down the law. But my goodness, I mean, just
I know
the
what you're saying.
circumstances.
I know what you're saying, but you're saying, when do you bend the rules?
Mm-hmm.
When it suits you, do you bend the rules when it suits you, or do you bend the rules or don't bend the rules?
Yeah.
Because they're rules. I think it all plays in what it was. Look, maybe the incident was bigger than we understand.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were witnesses to the incident.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was a big problem. So a lot of things could have happened, Les, that didn't necessarily come out.
They have a lot of things over Malcolm Butler's head because he has never come out and really talked about this situation. He really hasn't. I remember him standing on the sidelines with tears in his eyes because he probably wanted to get in there and do something, but he knew for whatever reason he was not going to get that opportunity. But I don't think you'll ever hear it. Maybe he writes a book one day.
I was going to say,
clean.
Maybe he does.
Or who knows? But let me ask you this. So that's obviously ancient news. I just wanted to get your opinion on that because obviously, like I said, we applaud Bill Belichick as New England fans. Amazing job, but that's the one that we thought really got away. Not the undefeated season. That's the one that we thought offensively we were unstoppable, but we just couldn't make a play one stop.
There was another situation that had to do with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. In the first season that Mac Jones was here, he took out, the fans were yelling for Zappi, and they were cheering. Jones was the starter, and the fans kept saying, Zappi, Zappi. And he took Zappi out. Mac Jones out and put Zappi in. And it really undermined Mac Jones at that time. I thought that was another huge mistake. And I don't know why he never took to Mac Jones, but he just never seemed to. Well, I guess I can tell. I guess the same reason, Les. Mac Jones is on the field complaining about his coaches. He's holding up his hands to Patricia. So how can you call that? Why did you call that? You didn't think that was going to work. The gestures that he had on the field. Well, that's not what coaches want to see in their players. That's not what Belichick wants to see in his players.
Right.
He wants them to toe the line.
So where do you think Belichick will end up? I know we both think that he's going to the NFC, but does he bring the old boys network back? Does he bring back Josh McDaniel, who will never be a head coach in the NFL again? Will he bring back Matt Patricia on the defensive side? Will he bring more assistance from his current staff over there? Where do you think he's going to end up?
How can you bring Patricia back after Philadelphia? I don't know.
How do you screw that up, Bob? How do you screw up the Philadelphia situation? That's a head scratcher to me.
That is too. I mean, I agree. I mean, that's as much on Soriano as it is on anybody. So that's just the way it worked. They tried things and it didn't work. They tried to fix it in the middle of midstream, and it went south on them.
Do you think he ends up in Atlanta?
Belichick?
Yeah.
You know what? It seems to me, lacking any other opportunities. I mean, you think Vrabel's going to Seattle, huh?
That's the word, that he's going to be in Seattle. It's a good fit. For some unknown reason, as much as he should, Jerry Jones, I think, is reluctant to part ways with Mike McCarthy. He's won 12 games, 3 consecutive seasons. I get it. But you've got to make a decision at Dallas. You've got Dak Prescott, who's been there since 2016. He's a stat guy. There's no doubt about it. But he's not won one big game for the Cowboys. And it's either going to be the quarterback or the head coach. What are they going to do in Dallas?
You think bringing in Belichick's going to affect?
I don't think so.
Peterson.
I just think that if you brought in Belichick maybe to Dallas, maybe he stabilizes that team a little bit. I don't know how the relation. I guess he's got a great relationship with Jerry Jones. That's what people say, that they can coexist.
Unlike Robert Kraft, there's another. Right.
I just think, listen, everyone's got an expiration date, Bob, and I think Belichick coached for a tremendous amount of time in New England, and I think eventually, listen, everyone talks about the Patriot way. It's easy to buy into the Patriot way when your team is winning and you're successful. But when things aren't going right, people don't want to buy into a program that's losing. I mean, right? Am I right?
Everybody's got a way. Les has a way. Warner Wolf had a way. The Patriot way.
Bob Lobel had a way.
The Milky Way. That's everything. When it's working, it's the way.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm not sure what the Patriot way was. It was like, maybe they can claim in their first Super Bowl, in 2001, the first one they won, when they were introduced as a team. That they wanted to be introduced not as individuals in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They wanted to be introduced as a team.
Yes.
And that, to me, is a signature of the Patriots way. Okay, I can buy that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, more of a strategy. It made a lot of sense. But I don't know what else the Patriot way is. Put Tom Brady out there. That's the Patriots way.
You couldn't do any worse that was out there this year. That's for sure.
Well, you had to have somebody to throw to, too.
That's a good point.
Look at why can't we get players like that? I can Jacoby Myers. I can just go right down, a bunch of outstanding wide receivers that used to be here that aren't here.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, I just think you're right. It doesn't matter who they put back there, getting that snap from center, that they just didn't have the playmakers. They didn't have guys that ran the right routes. They didn't get separation. And when they caught the ball, they dropped it.
Yeah. I always was shocked. I mean, it seems like their offensive line, when Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach, left,
I agree.
He took all the ability with him on that offensive line.
I've got to say, something during this whole run, Bob, he might be the most underrated part of that team. You are 150% right. Dante Scarnecchia did an amazing job with players like David Andrews, who was an undrafted free agent. He took guys that weren't massively high draft picks and turned them into tremendous football players.
Yeah, we had him on our podcast. He was great. Just really, really good. And he was really a good human being that had no illusions about being a head coach. He just loved being an offensive line coach.
Well, before we flip the switch on the Patriots, I just want a quick, does Gerard Mayo make it New England? Is he successful ultimately? Or is he one of those guys that in 3 years we're looking for a new coach?
Well,
Tough to answer.
I think he's got a chance. No, of course it's tough to answer.
Yeah.
I think based upon, his history here, I think he's got a chance. I think he's open to learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got to have some help. He's got to get a general manager that's going to find players. And the problem is the owner-centric franchise. I mean, once again, that is a way of creeping in. If you're the most owner-centric franchise in all of America, it's going to creep in again and again, and it's going to become a problem. So let's see what happens. But he's got a good chance of making it, I think.
Well, I wish him the best of luck.
Whatever that means, whatever making it means anymore.
I don't know.
This league.
The playoffs, I guess. You got to get to the playoffs to have a chance and sniff at the championship. And they have the third pick in the draft. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think it's all going to be predicated by what the Chicago Bears do with the number 1 pick. Do they keep Justin Fields? Do they draft Caleb Williams? And I think it's going to be a domino effect with at least the first 10 to 15 picks based on what the Bears do.
Here's the thing. When you said predicated, the league, this is the same league that makes you pay for Peacock to watch a playoff game of little significance.
You're going my way right now.
Cold War. Peacock make you buy a game if you want to see it. And now they're going to, and they're going to add more playoff spots eventually, so before that, there'll be 4 teams that don't make the playoffs.
Well, Bob, eventually, let's face it, I think they're really testing the waters here. And I think within 10 years, if you want to pony up and watch a Super Bowl, you're going to be paying $79.99, $59.99 to watch the Super Bowl. And it's great for
people.
Would
you watch Hagler-Hearns fight?
Exactly. It's going to be a pay-per-view. I would see a Hagler-Hearns fight all day long, any day. But, not every Super Bowl is a Hagler-Hearns fight, right? But I just think that this is where the NFL is going. I think that they're greedy. They want as much money as they can, and they're going to get it any way they can. And great, people can have parties, Super Bowl parties, and everyone can charge $5 and go. memo to
These owners don't care about the game as much as the owners. And I was talking to Upton Bell, and we talked this. Upton Bell, after our show, I talked to him last week, and he said when he was spotted, was first commissioner of the NFL.
Bert Bell.
Bert Bell. He said even Billy Sullivan, who hired Upton and fired Upton, he said even Billy Sullivan cared about the game. He said, they had Dan Rooney, they had all these Wellington Mara. They cared about the game. The owners today don't care about the game. They play 17 games. They put these guys in harm's way all the time. I mean, guys are going down left and right. I mean, there is a certain disregard. They can say all they want about safety, but between your theory on betting and fantasy football and Peacock, they don't really care about the game. They care about making as much money as they possibly can in a shorter period of time.
And Bob, it's only a matter of time before the schedules increase to 18 games. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to 18. And let's talk about Peacock, because we talked about it in our meeting before the show. The ratings were that they did 23 million, but you're saying that it was skewed a little bit, and maybe you can explain a little bit to that.
I think if it was only Peacock that is being rated for that game, you never would have heard the final numbers. Mm-hmm. But it was not only Peacock that was in those final numbers. It was the households in Kansas City
and Miami.
Miami, of course, those that couldn't get to the game, but everybody's tuned in. Kansas City, it's 50 below zero, and while they still had a full house, everybody still was tuned into the game. So they got it over the air because they were in their home cities, and they weren't held up by Peacock the way you and I were.
Right. Well, I didn't watch the game, so.
Okay, well, I paid. I paid. My problem was getting it. My problem was working with my computer to get the friggin' thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I'm just saying that was the rating. Yeah, the numbers were fantastic, but they were inclusive of the overall. They weren't just Peacock by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I know. Well, we could go on, and I think we'll talk about it because we'll have a Bob Lobel part 3. Eventually.
I live that long.
Well, we'll have you back long before then. But what I want to do, I know we have some questions, Bob, from some of our viewers out there. So I'd like to take a commercial break right now. We're going to come back, have some questions from our viewers. I know we want to touch on the Celtics. I want to touch a little bit on the Bruins. We didn't get to do that last week, so let's do that after a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back with Bob Lobel after this.
Forever 24 Fit, Leland's only gym with 24-hour access. Get fit when it's convenient, utilizing Life Fitness, cardio, and weight machines. And for those of you who prefer free weights, there is a free weight area as well. Start your membership today and get on your way to a better you. 6 Happiness. Enjoy fresh Asian cuisine in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere where we believe good times deserve great food. Featuring the best sushi chefs in the Leland area. So come on in and we guarantee you will be delighted.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz, joined this evening by Bob Lobel, part 2, unfinished business, and we are on a roll, and we're bringing in everyone's favorite, Benny the Book, the King of Carolina. So, Benny, thanks for popping in.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Les. How you doing tonight?
Good to see you, Benny.
We're on a roll. We're rolling here, man. We're ripping up the NFL at this point, but we have a lot of questions from our viewers right now. Bob, you are the lightning rod for questions. This is fantastic. So, our chat girl, Joni, is on the mend. She's doing great. We hope to have her back in a couple of weeks. So shout out. We love you, Joni. And we're going to have Tony, our producer, start rolling with some of these questions. So, Bob, let's get ready. Benny, let's get ready. And let's roll the questions.
Okay, thanks, Les. I think this one goes out to Bob. Barry asks, which sport do you like covering the most?
That's a great question. And boy, it has changed. I used to love going to the garden, the old garden,
Mhm.
and watching Larry Bird make a pass at any game. I'd go to see those teams of the 90s, Bird and McHale and Parrish. So those were, it was a different game back there. It was, let's not get into that. We all know things have changed.
Absolutely.
That was special. We saw a number of Stanley Cup playoff games in here in Boston. We were fortunate enough to do that. But there was a time when going to baseball was fun. There was a time when, the Red Sox hadn't won anything, and all of a sudden they got smart and decided that maybe they ought to try to win something, break a curse or whatever they did. And I think, I'm not hedging my bets here, but I always like playoff stuff, playoff baseball, playoff, special games. Going to the All-Star game in Boston was really
that was in
amazing.
'99, right, with Ted Williams?
99, Pedro Martinez and Mark McGuire. They had different baseballs for the home run derby.
Oh, yeah.
Like they had the home run derby had like McGuire's baseballs had MM written on them because one of our reporters, Alice Cook, she stood on the parking garage across from Fenway Park, across over the Green Monster, and she got a hold of one of the Mark McGuire balls. It had MM on it, and we had another ball from a regular batting practice ball. We brought him in the studio. We brought a guy over from MIT in one of our late shows and dropped him to see which ball had the most bounce and everything else. And
McGuire's.
the All-Star ball went about 6 inches higher.
Well, unfortunately, Sammy Sosa took his cork bat from that and actually used it in a real game and got busted for it. So, sorry, Sammy.
Too bad, right?
But excellent question, Barry. Let's go to. I know we got it lined up. So, Tony, let's just roll them.
You got it. So, Michael asks, Jones was at today's press conference. What do you make of that? Smart on his behalf or not a wise move?
Ooh,
I think it was
question.
a great move. It was a great question. I don't know how it could be a bad move. I mean, he showed up. He showed support. He doesn't know what's going to happen. I think he probably realizes he's not going to be there next year, but I think this shows that he kind of wants to be. And whether that makes an impact on Mayo or the rest of the team, I don't know. But Kraft likes him. Belichick didn't, apparently. So who knows? Maybe he'll get another shot. Good question.
Good
really.
question, Mike. Good question. All right, let's go. Number 3.
Okay, Barry asks, Bob, do you feel it was an honor to replace John Most in 77 playoffs?
Ooh.
Worse. One of the great thrills I've had was filling in for Johnny Most. I worked with him for 2 years, the home games. But unfortunately, the 2 years were the Sidney Wicks, Curtis Rowe years.
That's
nothing you
dark
can do about
ages.
that. No kidding, boy. I mean, it wasn't all wine and roses when it came to the Celtics either.
Right.
But it was really awesome to have to sit next to him.
Yeah.
And he got into, I can remember that. I'll just tell you one Johnny Most story. And he's, for people that don't know, he was a legend. He was a homer. He was Red Auerbach's personal choice to be the radio announcer because all he did was sell the Celtics. That dirty, nasty Lambeer, McFilthy. The way they do things here in Detroit, it's unbelievable. We did one game. I'll never forget this one game we did at the Boston Garden. In the old Boston Garden, we had great seats, perched overhang. And Johnny had no idea who the Celtics were playing that night. We got in, we sat down. He said, "Oh, here we are tonight, getting ready for basketball battle as the Celtics get ready to take on." And he stopped and looked over to see the team that the Celtics were playing. And that was Johnny Most. No preparation whatsoever, but adorable and loved by everybody.
Unmistakable delivery as well. I mean,
oh my God.
Smoking. How many cigarettes did he smoke during a broadcast, Bob?
Plenty. He lost his teeth. I wasn't there, but the guy the color analyst that was there.
Was it Glenn Ordway who did it?
Ordway did it for a long time after. Yeah, he did. Ordway definitely did it for a long time. But this was Al Grenner, and most lost his teeth, and they just kind of flew out, and the guy grabbed him in midair. Johnny Most was unbelievable. But okay,
He's a true treasure of Boston fans. No
he
doubt
is.
about it.
What an honor it was to work with him for 2 years.
That's pretty amazing. And I know you probably have more Johnny Most stories. We can always go back on Bob Lobel Part 3. But let's have another question. I'm sure we have more, right, Tony?
Yes, we do. I think you guys might have touched on this one, but John Irwin asks, Bob, did you watch the Mayo's press conference? Did you think they were making Belichick too big a scapegoat?
Yes, I did watch the press conference. I wasn't there in person, but it was on a local channel. No, I think Belichick's, it's over and done. Scapegoat or no scapegoat, his history has been written here. And whatever opinion you have, everybody keeps saying he's the greatest coach that ever coached. I hate those comparisons because I'm not sure that's necessarily true. But he was a really good coach, a really good coach. How much better than Ali Sherman was he? I don't know, but he was a really good coach. And he may have been the greatest coach, but how do you quantify that? I mean, it's easy to say, he was the greatest this and greatest that, but it's such a fuzzy area. But I don't think he took any real big hits today. I think Mayo just said Bill wasn't. I'm not Bill, and he's not, and that's the way it goes. We'll see what happens if the history of Belichick is not done yet. The final chapter hasn't been written.
And we touched upon that last week with the whole GOAT. And I listened to your podcast the next day with Mike Lynch, and you guys did talk about, the GOAT and how you don't like that. And I don't either, because it's incredibly difficult to measure players from different eras based on the game has changed and the rules have changed.
If you said who's better, Larry Bird or Dr. J? I mean, but if you picked one, it's like you're saying the other one isn't as good.
Right.
Which is just wrong.
I agree.
Right.
I mean, right?
Yes.
I mean, who's better, Larry Bird or Julius Erving? Larry Bird or Michael Jordan? If you picked one, that doesn't mean the other one's second best. You always have that stupid comparison. But
it's your own personal preference, Bob. It's based on your eye test of who do you think was a better player. Now, that's the whole thing about the Tom Brady thing. I just prefer Joe Montana. It doesn't mean Tom Brady's a bad player. It doesn't mean I don't love Tom Brady. But it just...
I always wondered what made him good. I've always asked people, tell me what makes Brady, what made him so good? Was it his ability to think on the field, tempo? He was able to control the tempo probably better than most other quarterbacks. And he was able, he could see things. Apparently he had to.
But Bob, I'll say the one thing that really, I think really is underrated in Brady is people will look at it and say, well, he wasn't an athlete. This is a guy who was drafted as a catcher by the Expos out of high school, okay? Out of St. Juniper High School in San Francisco. The guy was an athlete. He might not have been athletic in the terms of running the fastest or jumping the highest, but that doesn't mean he wasn't an athlete. He was a tremendous athlete in high school and a tremendous athlete and quarterback at Michigan. The guy won the Orange Bowl and won 10 games at Michigan. It wasn't like he was playing at Central Michigan, not to denigrate any Chippewa fans out there, but, on a 1-10 team and was a 6th-round draft pick and it was a revelation. The guy was a tremendous football player in college.
Isn't it amazing that the people derive their memory of Brady from that picture on the combine when he's like a skinny little guy that couldn't run, that you and I could run faster than. And
I look more athletic than him today than he did in that picture.
Right, no, I'm just saying that's what people really based their opinions on, and everything you say was true. But it's a flaw in the system that he went in the 6th round. I mean, if he was that good, how could possibly so many teams miss him?
And I want to, something, and I really want to get into this. And we have a few more questions, right, Tony?
We sure do.
I'm sorry, Les.
No, Bob, I want to get into this too, because I really want to talk about the whole pro day and the whole combine and how players are overrated because they put up certain measurables. And how does Puka Nacua go in the 5th round this year and sets every rookie receiving record in the NFL. And he's a 5th round guy.
Who's and Belichick. Belichick didn't go to the combine. He used to go all the time. So people would say, maybe Kraft, one of them, what's wrong with my guy? Why, if he's running a show, why didn't he go to the combine? Anyway, that's beside the point. I should shut up, Bob.
No. Well, let's keep rolling the questions because Bob, you are, like I said, you are the question man. We've got a lot more. Let's go.
Okay, so John asks, why do the Krafts get a pass when it comes to the blame pie?
Let me tell you something.
Running everything.
There's a Shaughnessy. There's a column today in the Boston Globe. You can get it online. You can go online and look. And Dan Shaughnessy column today in the Boston Globe. And the Krafts do not get a pass in the blame pie today.
Interesting.
I had a text to Shaughnessy. I'd almost like to read it. I don't want to take up time doing this.
No. I would go ahead and do it, but I have to pay like $5 for the article, so I probably won't do it.
No, it's like Peacock.
Exactly.
So you either pay for it online or you buy it over the counter for $3. So what difference? They got you coming and going.
They do.
And this guy's the one that owns the Red Sox. So tell me why they don't spend any money for that.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right. It's just, the Shaughnessy column today really takes on the Kraft organization and all that stuff.
And so everyone out there, check out Dan Shaughnessy's column in the Globe. And if you're willing
that's all I can say.
If you're willing to pay $5.95, you can get it online.
I don't get any takes out of this. They did not get a pass, in other words, from that today.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. So while you go, John, no pass on the Kraft family with the.
Even asking Jonathan, even asking Bob today, where's Jonathan? Why isn't he here? Oh, we have an emergency in our organization. He had to be somewhere. Coward.
Well, there we go. All right, let's go. Let's keep going.
All right. So Howard Bloom asks, are the Sox playing coy and getting ready to pounce on Jordan Montgomery or Dylan Cease or Blake Snell?
I don't think the Sox are going to get any of these guys.
Full throttle Tom Werner. Full throttle Tom Werner, who keeps saying that we'll be competitive this year.
I don't see it.
No, I don't see it either. I don't think they're being coy. I think they're being cheap. And you know what? They can do what they want. It's their money. They know what they have. They have a ballpark that everybody wants to come visit. It's an iconic place to visit in Boston. People like to see it, say they've been there.
As long as they're making money.
Benny, have you been to Fenway at all?
No, that's the one place I really would like to go.
It is. It's not the most comfortable stadium. Bob will tell you the sight lines.
I've been outside the Green
Monster.
Monster. I walked by the Green Monster one time, but that was as close as I got to Fenway Park.
Bob, have you sat in the Green Monster seats?
Yes.
How is it?
First, I think it's the best seat in sports.
I've never been privileged to do it, but
I had the first year that they had them. Me and another guy bought 4 season tickets up in the Green Monster, like $25,000. We split it.
Wow.
First year.
Okay.
And so we split the games. It was a lot of money, but it was still. And I loved it. We were right under the sign, one of those big signs that hangs down, and the only issue was you couldn't see the left fielder, but you could tell if it hit the wall because you could hear it. So there's some things you just in that ballpark you just have to learn how to ignore, and that's sight lines.
I was going to say,
but anyway, it was special, and you should, boy, if you get a chance to go, do it.
Yeah, Benny, maybe one of these days we'll make a trip back up to Boston.
You really should. Come on.
Yeah.
If you wait long enough, there'll be plenty of seats available.
Well, you know what we'll do? Benny and I will take a trip up. Bob, we'll get together with you, we'll grab dinner, we'll go see a Red Sox game.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I don't know how many.
And Tony, our producer, wants to go too.
All
As
I
right.
don't
long
know
as
how many
they're playing the
contacts I
Mets.
left, but I might be able to scrounge up 4 tickets.
All right.
All right.
We're going to hold you to that, Bob. Do we have any more questions for
We
Bob?
do. We do. We have a couple.
Okay, a couple more questions. Then I want to get into a little bit more Boston sports. So
All right.
let's roll them.
So Michael asks you, Les, would you pay $59.99 for a Lightning Bruce Finch fight?
Oh, that's an inside joke. I did pick Lightning Bruce Finch to beat Sugar Ray Leonard in 1981, and he looked good for a round, and then he got knocked out in the second round. So the answer would be no. But I would pay to see Marvin Hagler fight him again in 15 rounds with non-thumbless gloves, with a 12-by-12 ring, and not fool around for the first 4 rounds, because Marvin would have taken him apart and knocked him out by 8. There you go. So,
All right.
Bob, you know that's true. Marvin gave up a lot to get that big payday with Sugar Ray Leonard.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I loved him.
Loved him too.
He was
All right.
fantastic.
Okay, what do we got? We got no more?
Yeah, we got a couple, like 2 or 3 more.
2 or 3 more. Okay.
So Barry asks, Bob, are you still involved with the Children's Hospital and the Guinness Fund?
Yeah, the Genesis Fund it was called, right?
Genesis.
Guinness Fund's a beer thing.
Well, it says Guinness here, so I read what
All
it
right,
says.
I know. You know, I'm sure they have a fund too. So
I think my brother's with the Guinness Fund, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
Bob, you
that
should
was-
let us know that. We would put this, whatever you're affiliated with, we'd love to obviously promote it on the show and put a link to it. So please let us know, and we'll definitely do it for future shows.
all right, I will.
So, all right, so
no, I am actually. We do a couple things a year. The Genesis Fund is an organization for handicapped children that a guy that I worked with, a doctor that I worked with at Channel 4 started. But it involved a lot of TV people, and anyway, it was really well done.
Genesis Fund, not the Guinness Fund. Okay, Barry.
No, Genesis Fund, they ran the Havlicek fishing tournament. We went down on
John
Martha's Vineyard,
Havlicek.
Havlicek, and great celebrities. Those were the great times. I mean, those were really fun times when you go out and hang around these guys, and you didn't have to worry about asking them questions or covering them. And, people, even Walter Cronkite was there. People remember Walter Cronkite, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about celebrities that people were, real celebrities.
Yeah, I know. Nowadays,
Anyway.
well, nowadays with the advent of social media, everything is like this reality TV, which I'm proud to say I do not watch at all. But they've made celebrities out of people doing stupid things, and I
Yeah,
don't
right.
understand it. I'll never understand
No,
it.
I get it. I know. It's the people
Bob-
do stupid things.
Bob, I could not tell you who a Kardashian is if I ran into them in the street. I honestly would not know. Don't care.
What do you want me to do? Agree with you?
If you walk behind it, you would know.
That's right.
I
right.
can always count on Benny to just throw one in there. Good fastball there, Ben. Let's take one
So what do you
more
want?
question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, let's
We
do
were
one
talking-
more because I want to get into the Celtics and Bruins
Okay,
real
I
quick
got
too.
it. Yeah, I agree with you. Go ahead.
So go ahead, Tone. One more.
Sure. John Irwin asks, Bob, do you listen to sports radio at all? It is my opinion that the afternoon drive time shows are making Rick Pitino look like a prophet. Fellowship of the Miserable. What are your thoughts?
Good
I
question.
do this. That's a very good question. I'm not married to them. I listen to them when I have an opportunity. I just to keep up, and certainly the last couple of weeks with all the coaching stuff going on, I didn't want to, miss anything. So I made sure that I was like anybody else around. But that's, yeah, I did the Patino thing, Fellowship of the Miserable. Yeah, the fans just sound younger, but they're still fans. They still are the Fellowship of the Miserable. Larry Bird's not walking through that door.
Yeah.
So it's just.
But Bob, when you
Anyway.
were doing the news, okay, in Mike Lynch and whoever in Boston at the time,
John Dennis.
you guys were reporting on stories. You were reporting on sports. You were talking about the games. You went to the games. Now it seems like sports radio is let's just stir up the pot. Let's just come up with things to get people
No
pissed
question.
off. Let's throw things out there and let's get everyone angry and let's it's not the reporting has been watered down. I think from that standpoint, it's not you're covering the game. All you're trying to do is get ratings and do stupid things and come up with crazy gimmicks to get people to listen to this. I mean, that's
Yeah.
my take on it.
You know what? Patino's right. It is a Fellowship of the Miserable. It is anger driven. You know, but let's face it. Has this season, this has been the best thing that could happen to sports talk radio, a 4-win Patriots season. I mean, you can only imagine what the last couple of years have been like for sports talk radio. Like last year, when the Bruins got stonewalled and the President's Cup, and the Celtics got knocked out in the finals. You can only imagine or the Red Sox, you know, with the full throttle Tom Werner going on. I mean, it's a minefield for sports talk radio.
Well, let's talk about you
buying into it.
Well, you just kind of gave us a little segue into the Celtics and the Bruins.
I tried to do that.
Very, very good. And by the way, David Pasternak right behind us with the New Jersey, which I really, really like, by the way.
Good. I like him too.
So I'm going to talk about two players right now, one playing with the Bruins, Pasternak, and one with the Celtics and Jason Tatum. The Celtics 31-9 right now, have the best record in the Eastern Conference by, I think, a game right now over Milwaukee. They've been playing great. Missoula's done a great job with that team. Your impressions of Jason Tatum?
I love him. He's a great player. I mean, I think of he does some really remarkable things. It's hard to put him in context with, you know, you always go back to the Bird stuff, you know. I can't help myself, but you always put him in context with, you got to compare him to somebody, right? Okay, compared to Jaylen Brown, they could live without Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, but they couldn't live without Jason Tatum. And I think he may be taking a little. They do a lot of this taking time off because the season's so long, and that just kind of grabs you the wrong way sometimes. But the season is too long, and it's 4 games and 5 nights is ridiculous.
Well, that's where that whole load management comes into play. And
I know, Adam Silver, get a hold of yourself. I mean, you're seriously, but they're the team to beat, and they just really can't falter the way they did last year against the Warriors.
Well, I will tell you, Porzingis is going to be a key because
he's
the one mismatch inside. I know Embiid is a beast. Had a great game last night against the Nuggets and outplayed Jokic last night, which is difficult to do. But it's 7'3". He's a rim protector. He can step out, hit the three. He's a good passing big man. And if he stays healthy, now you get Horford coming off the bench, 15, maybe 16 minutes a game, gives you quality minutes. Their bench is averaging 45 points a game right now.
Brad Stevens has done an amazing job.
I think so too.
That team together.
Yes, he did.
I think so too.
Mark White, or what? What's his name? Derek White.
Oh, yeah. Derek White they got last year. Yeah, we're from San Antonio. Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, when he got him last year, they said, this guy's going to be a decent, half decent defender. They don't miss Marcus Smart at all.
No, and Drew Holiday they pick up this year.
Drew Holiday.
I love that pick.
Tremendous pickup.
Yeah, so the Stevens has done an unbelievable job.
Yeah, and I think he's underrated. I think Missoula's done great, but people are forgetting Brad Stevens is pulling the strings behind the scenes here. All 5 starters in double digits right now. Their bench averaging close to 45 a night.
It scares the hell out of me because you know what? When you're in Boston, it's all set up to fail. You just have that thing. Benny, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. You learn to live with the success because you can't revel in it because it can be pulled out from underneath you in a second.
You snatch defeat in the jaws of victory.
You know what? Nope. No town is more susceptible.
What about the Bruins now, Bob? And I know, Benny, I know you're a big NHL guy. Obviously, you're a Ranger guy. Rangers, tremendous team this year. Bruins off to another great start, Bob, but, forget about the President's Cup. Now,
hard to do, man. They're just defending it the best they can.
Your take on the collapse last year? I mean, most coaching, not only the President's Cup, Bob, but most points in the history of the NHL, most wins, goal differential.
It was a total shock. I mean, talk about expectations going in. I think that was, but something happened with the coach and his communication with his goaltenders and something happened that I'm not sure what, but it just something happened.
Now, my question to you, and we talked about this earlier as well with the Bruins, is right now I did hear Jim Montgomery, the coach of the Bruins, saying that He made a mistake last year in the playoffs. He should have done the alternate goaltending route when it came to in the playoffs.
I know. I heard that too.
Don't agree with it.
Nope.
You've got two right now. You've got Swayman just made the All-Star team. He's younger. I think he's got more upside than Allmark. Allmark's a little bit older. Do you make a move come March with about 20, 25 games left in the season to bolster your secondary scoring, and do you jettison one of these goalies for a potential 30-goal scorer on a team that maybe doesn't make the playoffs? What is your take if you're Jim Montgomery?
First of all, I'm not smart enough to make that move. But honest,
If
okay,
you
having
were.
said that, I would not. I would not make that move. I wouldn't.
Wow.
I would not, because I think goaltending is too valuable
Okay.
commodity in this league, especially down the playoffs. I know you go with a hot goalie, but you know what? They work well together. They're pretty much in sync. They're an integral part of why they're winning, and I wouldn't change a thing back there. I mean,
Playoff hockey's very unique. Any team that makes the playoffs gets that hot goaltender, they can make a run. It's in the history. I mean, it's just.
how about Tim Thomas?
Yeah.
Tim Thomas is a great example.
He won it for him.
Best. I've never seen an athlete play better in 3 weeks, in a 3-week stretch, than Tim Thomas played in that 2011, I think it was.
It was, Bob. I went back and watched last week all 4 games that he won. I actually watched them in its entirety after Horton got knocked out.
What is wrong with him, Benny? What is wrong with him?
I have to say, you were right. He stood, they say a goalie standing on his head.
On
In
his
most
head.
of these games, the Bruins were opportunistic, but they were outshot, in large portions of these games. And Tim Thomas basically willed the Bruins to victory. He won the Conn Smythe. He was the best player on the ice.
Yes.
Totally. I've just never seen a 3-week period where there was one guy stood out as much as he did.
The only one I would say that equals that, and it's a killer for me, but it's when the Bruins lost in 74 to the Flyers, and Bernie Parent stonewalled the Bruins. They could not get the puck by this guy.
Well, that's Benny's. Here's a perfect example. Your hot goaltender can
Carry
can
a
ruin
team.
you.
Yep.
Benny, are the Rangers going to make a run? Are the Rangers a serious cup contender this year?
Yeah, they're serious. They're having a little. Their goaltending is slumping a little bit. That Sherzerkin, they expected a lot from these guys, and they're not getting it right now. But they got a good young squad. They'll be there. One of them gets hot. They'll do it. The West has a lot of good teams.
Well, I was going to say, I looked at the stats.
The West has a lot of good
Winnipeg
teams.
having a tremendous year. Vancouver's having a tremendous year.
There's so many great young players. It's not like you keep track of these college kids coming out, but there's just so many great players.
Yeah.
Most of them are named Connor for some particular reason.
Yeah, I saw.
That's true.
Mark Flory was on one of the shows today, and he said, the guy asked him about it. He goes, yeah, the guys used to have wood sticks, and he goes, these young guys, everybody's fast, everybody's agile. He goes, it's different. He says, he goes, all 4 lines, they all have scorers on them. Before it was the last 2 lines, probably the guys that beat up everybody on the other team. It was, you didn't look for them to score. They were there in forces. But he goes, now every line could score. They all have talented young players. He goes, and everybody's fast.
Well, Bob, we remember the old
Bruins
adage.
last year killed the Bruins was Kachuk.
Tremendous hockey player. What a hockey player.
Tremendous hockey player.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Bob, we remember the old adage, I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. I mean,
Right.
how times have changed. You might see a fight every now and then. You'll see
No,
body
it wasn't like
checking.
Stan Jonathan or Winsink or
When Stan
Steve
Jonathan
Riley.
went toe-to-toe with Pierre Bouchard, who, by the way, was about 6'6", Jonathan's about 5'8", and he absolutely pummeled, or even better, John Wensink, we have to get video of this one day, challenged
taking
the
on
entire
Minnesota, right?
bench.
Taking on Minnesota.
Nobody else, they all looked down.
I'd bring my son to the station every once in a while. he'd come in, and all he wanted to do was, "Can I see the Minnesota tape? Can I see the
That's
wins tape?"
fantastic.
The
Fantastic.
real hockey fans years ago, they went to the games to watch fights. They didn't want to watch the hockey. They wanted to see the fights.
No, it's
True.
definitely a different game now. There's no doubt about it. I think the speed of the game, the way that rules now with the no center line, it's opened up neutral ice now, things like that.
Mhm.
And I think the college game, I know, Bob, we're lucky enough, Hockey East in our own backyard might be the best college hockey out there. High school hockey in Massachusetts is unbelievable. I mean, just hockey's, to your opinion, Bob, if you're going to pick a sport in Boston, and it has to be one, is Boston truly a hockey town? All things considered equal, is Boston a hockey town?
I think it's by far the best hockey town in America. And we're not talking just men and boys. We're talking women and girls, because they have hockey teams. They're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And rightfully so. It's just everybody's got a rink, or everybody has access to a rink, and
Mhm.
it's indigenous to the population. Everybody, it's generational here. You know, that's like 4 or 5 generations have grown up with the Bruins now.
Right.
So it's like not only grandfather's grandfather, that kind of thing around here.
And it all started from number 4, Robert Gordon Orr. There's no
Oh,
doubt
yes.
about it. Rinks
No, well
popped
done.
up the minute Mr. Orr, number 4, hit the rink. Well, listen, Bob, we've gone a full hour. We have kept you
Wow.
overtime. We've gone overtime with Bob Lobel today, but I want to thank you again. I know we just reached out yesterday, and thanks so much for pinch hitting for Charles Barkley. You've been outstanding. We definitely wanted to do a second show. There's just so much more to talk about. Maybe
I
we
love
go
being
back.
on. Thank you very much.
No,
I
maybe we
don't-
do
you know,
part 3, Bob. And again,
whatever.
you can hear and see Bob weekly on Unanchored podcast, Boston Sports with Mike Lynch. And I check it out. Now it's on my daily list. So, Bob, I
good.
love the podcast. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, but you guys do a fantastic job. You set the standard. I told the guy that produced our show, he's got to watch this, because
You're too
I
kind.
love it. No, I know. I'm thrilled. I'm sorry Charles couldn't make it tonight, but he'll be on.
Listen, I've got Tony lugging the show here, and I've got Benny keeping me honest. So with these two guys, we're doing okay. But listen, Bob, I thank you again very, very much. We appreciate it. Check out Bob's podcast on Anchored.
4 tickets on the Green Monster, okay?
Sounds good, Bob.
Bob, we're doing it this summer. I'm gonna, and Tony's in too. We're doing it.
Good.
All right, Bob.
Thanks,
Listen,
guys.
take care. Have a
Pleasure
fantastic
seeing you
week.
again, Bob. Take care.
Thanks. Good to see you, Benny.
And
Thanks
we're going to
so
be
much.
back with the NFL and Benny's picks right after this.
Jim's Pawn and Gun Shop, located at 4212 Oleander Drive, Wilmington's #1 firearms dealer. Sporting a large inventory, including all brands of handguns and long guns, a full stock of accessories, and all types of ammunition, Jim's Pawn and Gun Shop has it all, including the best customer service in the area.
Before the lights go out, call Wilmington Generators. We offer the lowest price and a 10-year warranty for all Briggs & Stratton installations. A Briggs & Stratton powers more of your home for less money. Call for a free quote. Wilmington Generators. We play with power.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm Les Swartz. Thanks again to Bob Lobel for pinch hitting for Charles Barkley. We'll get Charles. We're going to get him. I'm telling you, we're going to get him. But Bob was outstanding. Part 2, unfinished business. And I'll be honest with you, Benny, I could talk to Bob for hours about sports. He's a Boston icon when it comes to sports, and I just love talking to him.
You could just tell he's just full of stories. You know, I mean, to think what he's been around in Boston sports it's amazing. I mean, you think about it, what he saw in his lifetime, you know, to be at all those games, to be able to talk to all those tremendous players. I mean, you know, well, like I said last week, that was a good way to make a living.
I agree.
Good way to make
like
a
I
living.
said, Benny had my dream job, really. But
Yep.
And again, thanks for all the questions out there to the viewers. Excellent questions this week. Thanks to everyone who's subscribing. Our subscribers go up every week. Our views go up every week. So we really, really thank you. If this is your first time checking out Swartz Talkin Sports, please hit that subscribe button. We love to get comments. I answer them every single day. We're getting some good ones. We're getting some real thoughtful ones. So thanks so much for those. Keep them rolling. I will do my best to answer them, like I said, every day. But Benny, this has been a kind of a long show. So let's get right into the NFL playoffs. Had some upsets last week, but we're getting into the divisional round. This is where the rubber meets the road. So let's get it started.
Well, I was 4 out of 6, I think, last week.
4-2 last week for the book.
4-2, and
you've had 3 straight good weeks.
I had a shot. I had a shot at that Pittsburgh game. They had the ball and they were launching to cut that to 7. I would have won that game, but I was a little off and disappointed about the Cleveland defense. He's a tremendous football player.
Listen, I'm just going to say it right now. Out of every rookie quarterback I've seen play, based on going to a team that was under 500 last year with a rookie coach, C.J. Stroud might be the most impressive rookie that I've seen in the NFL in recent years.
Sure. All the numbers prove it out.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
and he's moving on this week. He's moving on this week. So
I like him.
Let's start it out. Let's go with game 1.
Game 1, Houston is at Baltimore. I like Houston plus the 9 points. I know that Baltimore has looked very impressive. I'm looking at the spreads, and 43.5. It's kind of a low point total. So I don't think they don't think many points are going to be scored in the game. So getting 9 with Houston, I like Houston. I think they're going to hang in there. I don't know if they're going to win, but I think they're going to hang in there.
All right, so you're going to take Houston getting the 9.
Houston,
I mean,
plus the 9.
Ravens have been the best team all year long.
Yes.
I mean, and I think with them beating San Francisco, in the regular season, that kind of cemented that. But they've been off a week. Houston's coming in relatively healthy in this game.
Yes.
I think they keep it close. And, boy, wouldn't it be something to see them pull the upset over the Ravens? But you like Houston. Who do we get for game 2?
Game 2, I'm going to Love was tremendous last week. I mean, he's another I mean, he's like a rookie. I mean, he's been around for I think 3 years, but that was his first. This is his first year. He's played every game, but I think San Francisco is gonna put the kibosh on him. I think San Francisco minus the 10. I think people looking and saying, "Wow, Green Bay plus 10 points against San Francisco. Look what they did against Dallas." They're going to just jump on Green Bay. I think San Francisco is the team to beat. I think they're still going to win the Super Bowl. They got a lot of weapons. They're healthy. They had a week off. They got a great coach. He's been there before. He's going to get it done this year. Shanahan.
I got to say, watching Love play last week, Benny, he's got a little Mahomes in him. Throws some different arm angles, throws off his back foot.
And Aaron Rodgers, same thing. You look at him jumping up. They said Aaron Rodgers, his both feet were off the ground. He makes beautiful throws. He knows where guys are. I mean, it was beautiful to watch. I mean,
I think the bubble burst this week, though. I agree with you. I think San Francisco is really, really geared up to make a run here. Dallas and Philadelphia eliminated. Does that mean anything? But the path to the Super Bowl became a lot easier last weekend for the San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm. And
let's go with game number 3.
San Francisco. I'm going to take the Detroit Lions and lay the 6 points.
Okay.
I was pretty impressed with Tampa Bay. Their quarterback, he's having I didn't realize how good he was having. He's tremendous year, but Lions, I think this is a year they're going to get to the championship game. They're going to go, they played a tremendous game. It was anybody's ball game. 2 quarterbacks played tremendous, and I just think they're gonna pull this home game out. And they should win by more than a touchdown.
Listen, if they do that, our boy TT is going to be extremely happy.
Yes,
he's a big Detroit guy.
Yep. But our buddy Doug will be very unhappy.
That's true. I will say this. I agree with you. I thought Mayfield played a really good game last week, but let's be honest. That might have been the worst tackling performance I've seen in a game this year. Philly couldn't tackle anybody.
I got to tell you, I've never seen such a drop off from that team was awesome last year. They should have probably won the Super Bowl last year.
But Benny, this year 10-1.
Yeah, but Les, they were 10-1, and there were games that they should have lost.
Yeah,
The whole year that they were on this downslide the whole year.
I agree.
I mean, they were winning. I mean, they probably played defense like that all year. I mean, look at the Giants dismantled them.
Arizona dismantled them.
In a game they had to win.
Yeah.
They had to win against the Giants, and they couldn't beat the Giants.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that. So,
all
right. So, but you do like
I like
Detroit
the Lions.
And Coach
Goff,
Campbell.
I think that Detroit Lions, if their offensive line is healthy, they'll stand tall. I mean, he's going to blitz them, and if Goff has enough time, he'll pick them apart. Then,
all right. So I agree with you too. I think the Lions win, and I think they win by a couple of touchdowns. Sorry, Doug. All right. What do we got for the last game? Game 4.
I'm going to go with Buffalo minus the 2.5. I know a lot of people think Kansas City. I think they're on a very similar path. That they're not the team that they were last year. The Eagles are not the team they were last year. Kansas City is not. They beat Miami in freezing cold, and Mahomes played good, but again, drops. They dropped the ball.
Well,
and
I mean, it was -5 or -6. So
yeah,
I can't. I don't see honestly, Benny. I think now. How's the Buffalo punter? I know he pulled his hamstring last week after a block kick running down the player.
They'll get somebody to punt. Well, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about that. If Allen makes no turnovers, Buffalo wins the game.
I'm not convinced that happens. I think Kansas City's defense forces a couple of turnovers. I think Mahomes makes some plays down the stretch, and I think Kansas City beats Buffalo in Orchard Park. That's my prediction. So you like?
All right. So we could have a personal bet on that.
We'll have a personal bet. Okay.
We'll have a dinner or something.
Dinner at Six Happiness.
Okay.
And then an ice cream at Millie's.
Yes.
So you like Houston, you like San Francisco, you like Detroit, and you like the Buffalo Bills. You're up to 40-37. You're 3 games over 500. You're making some headway in the last few weeks, so congratulations. And let's hope you go 4-0 this week. And you're not playing golf this Sunday because it's going to be 40 below zero in Wilmington.
No Saturday, no Sunday.
No Saturday, no Sunday.
It's a freeze
and I'm not
out.
playing because I lose too many golf balls. So
it's a freeze out this weekend.
But we'll catch up. We'll catch up this week down the road. But thanks for the picks. I hope you do well.
Good luck, everybody.
Hope you all win. Much.
All right, Les.
We're going to be back with the wrap, and we got a very special video that we're going to show our one of our buddies, Vince Coleman, who's been a guest on the show and a very, very good friend of the show. His daughter, Capilani Coleman, ran recently at the University of Washington her first indoor meet. And when we come back from this commercial, we're going to show a video of that. So we'll be right back after this.
Millie's Ice Cream Shop, a full-service store in the Waterford Shopping Plaza of Leland, offering an array of tasty treats, including both hard and soft ice cream in a variety of flavors and delectable combinations to appeal to even the discerning palate, assured to put a big smile on everyone's face. Stop by today to enjoy your satisfying experience.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports, and I'm Les Swartz. Again, thanks so much for Bob Lobel coming on. Unanchored Sports podcast with Mike Lynch. That can be heard weekly. Again, it's very, very good. If you're in the Boston, New England area, please check it out. I think you'll love it. Benny the Book, 4-2 last week. Let's see if Benny goes 4-0 and increases his winning percentage this season. He's done well, 40-37. And again, thanks to everybody for checking out the show. I know we went a little long tonight, but we could talk to Bob for hours. So really, really enjoy sitting down and having the conversation with Bob Lobel. Thanks for the questions out there from our viewers. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. Comment on the show. We can be heard on podcasts, Google Podcast, and I forget what the other podcast streaming is. Spotify. I don't really listen to it. I watch it a little bit, but you can be heard on Spotify and Google Podcasts, so check that out as well. Right now, a very special quick video we want to run. Very special friend of the show, Vince Coleman, and a guest of the show, and we'll bring Vince on again in the future. His daughter, Capilani Coleman, at the University of Washington, freshman on the track team. She ran her first 3 indoor events last week, and we're going to show a video of her 400-meter dash where she absolutely looks outstanding. So if Tony can cue that up, let's check out Capilani Coleman in the 400-meter dash indoor meet last week at the University of Washington.
Pacific in 5. Off and rolling in this women's 400-meter green. The GNAC outdoor performer, 7th in the 400 and 8th in the 200. Was 6th in the GNAC indoor championships last year in the 200. As we now see Coleman through the 200 with the lead, with her teammate Macumber Gandara right behind her in second. Capilani Coleman and her teammate Macumber Gandara in second, but now we see Green and Chazar trying to pass her on the outside in lanes 2 and 3, but it'll be Coleman gets the win in 57.72. Chazar 60.56 for second, Green 6.
Outstanding job. And I know Vince is a proud papa because she won that thing by 10 to 15 yards. So outstanding job. We'll be following Capilani this year at the University of Washington track team. So again, outstanding job and best of luck the remainder of the season. Tony, thanks for queuing that up. That's our first video, and I think that we should do more of that. That went off without a hitch. So again, I know it was a long show. We thank everyone for staying with us. Again, thank you, Bob Lobel. Thank you, Benny the Book. Thank you, everyone out there. We'll be back next Wednesday, the 24th, with our special guest, Brian Holloway, former New England Patriot and Los Angeles Raider, first-round draft pick of the Pats. And Brian's still very heavily connected to the NFL, and we're going to ask him about all things NFL and get his Super Bowl pick next week. So again, Brian Holloway, next Wednesday, 7 p.m. I'm Les Swartz. Thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.